live stream should be a go.
Hey, Meredith.
Hey, hey, how are you?
Okay.
Hey, Miss Minnie.
Hey.
How are you?
You doing it?
Yeah, doing well. How about you? You see now? It's so dark if you don't turn those lights on.
Oh, our beard's good when we do something.
Yeah.
Looks like we did a lot of work in the day. No reason, no need.
Better be prepared.
We got any agendas?
We didn't make it, we didn't.
Did you mine?
Yeah,
I have one.
I wrote on mine last.
Good call. Sorry about that. I'll be right back.
We do.
I won't be able to get back in if I don't take my keys.
Okay. Oh, yeah, yeah, it would be good. It's green on there, looking really good. Look at that.
Yeah.
Good on that.
Oh, yeah, I guess get out here.
I'm just curious to see where all the yellow, where all the little pads are. How long is that? I don't know that. I don't know. Hey, gentlemen. Good.
How you doing?
Would shake your hand, but
That's all right.
these are trying times.
I understand. I understand.
I'll put you on.
Counselor,
Okay.
you can set up there, you can sit anywhere you want. It don't look like we're gonna have a big crowd.
I know.
So I'm not put you on the corner of the desk to get this through.
Hey, how are you?
All right, y'all.
Doing well, doing well.
Wherever you want to sit.
All right. Great.
time, we will call this meeting to order. If you would, I welcome everybody for being here. We will have a moment of silence. If you'll go ahead and stand, and then the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This time we will move to adopt the agenda.
Mayor and Board, at this time I move we adopt the agenda tonight.
Do I have a second? Second. Any discussion?
Mayor,
Yes.
just a comment at this point. Item number 9, we won't act on it, but we decided to leave it there, and so we could at least raise awareness about what the governor has done with the extension of that.
Do you want to talk?
We'll do it at that time.
At that time. Okay, that sounds good. All right, so we will just extend that once we come down to that. Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And any against? Okay. Agenda is now adopted. At this time, we will move to citizens' comments.
Yeah, Liz.
No, you never gave it to me. Did he? It's right there. You got it? Come on. That's okay. Okay. Under citizens' comments, we have Miss Cherry.
Nadine Cherry, 410 West Garden Street, Landis. Down on North Mariah Street, between 1 and 200 block at the creek, I would like to know why the orange barrels were placed there. I had noticed the ground was sinking. Pertaining to getting this fixed, how costly will it be? I know I had sent Ron an email, I believe, letting him know about one of the pipes that came from the carpet and guttering had broken loose. It just, like it just slid and came apart. And I think while they were down there looking at that they apparently found something else, because they were looking on both sides of the road. And I do know that the orange barrels that are down there, one of them has fallen over. It looks like the ground has sunk some. So I just wondered, if that was going to turn into maybe a costly project, or, what's going on there.
We are aware of it. We did put the barrels there to alert people from being around the washout. We did do some cleaning out. We did find some pipes that were had some problems, and we're looking to fix it. We don't know what the cost will be. That's too early to tell. But it will be probably a major project.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to also know, since Parkdale over here, Plant 23 has shut down, closed down, has there anything been said that y'all are aware of that, anybody's looking at it, what might could go in there, or does anybody have any ideas?
Not at this time. With everything that's been going on with the pandemic, I haven't been in contact with anyone.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Hey.
A. We will consider the manager's remarks regarding proposed fiscal year budget, 2021 annual budget.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. Members of the board, before we actually ask you to conduct a public hearing on the proposed budget for fiscal year 2020-21, I thought I ought to make a few comments. As you know, during our meeting on May 18th, we went through the terms of the budget in their entirety. I did make one change in the budget message that was in the last paragraph. I'll read you the entire paragraph. It did go out to the public in this context. Your copies didn't have it. That's why I sent it to you. And it referenced the fund balance, and the paragraph entirety is as follows. It does so by reducing debt, improving the town's rainy day fund, (fund balance and retained earnings), (and enhancing efficiencies in the town's operating procedures that will yield additional savings that can potentially translate into lower taxes or fees over time. It is anticipated that the unrestricted general fund balance will increase from 8% to 22% on June 30, 2020. That is but one additional indication we are heading in the right direction. Please feel free to call me if you have questions regarding the proposed 2021 budget. And that's the only change made to the document. You may recall that I mentioned that we were reviewing fees. Mostly, pretty much all the fees that we were looking at had to do with planning, zoning, and subdivision regulations, which are woefully low surrounding areas. So we included some in that budget that went out to the public. We did add a few more. They are in your package. If and when, if it is the board's wishes, I'll ask you to make your motion to approve the budget with those corrections, with those additions. I am ready to, Mayor, if you're ready to, unless you have questions, it'd be proper to...
I do not. What he's reading off of is in that packet right there, not in this white packet. Okay. We will consider a public hearing into adoption of the Town of Landis annual budget for the fiscal year of 2020-2021. Make the motion.
And Mayor, I move that we go forth and consider a public hearing into the adoption of the Landis annual budget for this upcoming fiscal year 2021.
I have a second. Any discussion? Mr. Overcash? All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Motion passes. All right, we'll move to number 8. Mr. Baker?
No, we want to have that public hearing.
Oh, yes, right now,
And Mayor, members of the board, in addition, I had put out in the notice that anyone who wanted their remarks read into the record, they could do so by sending them to me at the town email address. I did get 3.
Okay.
We also have
Yes, I have
people here.
2. So would you like for them to go first and then you read?
That'll be fine.
Okay. The first one we have for public comments would be Mr. Larry Farmer.
Larry Farmer.
It is.
Larry Farmer, 401 Pine Street, Landis, North Carolina. First of all, I want to thank the town board for the plans that you made to recognize the 2020 class members of South Rowan yesterday. I thought it was a great way to honor them. But I want to also thank Mr. Barefoot and Ms. Seifert for all the work that they've done in preparing this proposed budget for the upcoming year. To have a budget that includes no increase to our tax rate, no increase to our water, sewer, electrical rates, and no addition of any new personnel indicates to me that our town is on a straight and narrow road to recovery. We've had our share of bad news in the past year and a half, so it's real good to see some good news and to have a better feeling about the way our town's being run today versus the past 4 or 5 years. Proposing a budget that is 9.28% lower than the budget this year is an indication of the ethical work that's being carried out by you as members of the board, by Mr. Barefoot, Ms. Seaford, and by all the employees of the town. It pleases me to provide this positive feedback after all the negativity that we've seen from previous boards and previous town managers and finance directors. However, there's one thing that I don't see in the proposed budget, and it's something that has not been in our budget for years. Both of my boys grew up in Landis. We moved here in 1985. And as they were growing up, they were interested in playing ball. I coached Little League baseball for 15 years while Larry Graham was athletic director here. I coached teams for both my boys as they started coach pitch and moved on through the levels of Little League. My wife Beth served as dugout mom with every team that I coached. We always celebrated the end of the baseball season with a party at the Landis pool for our team members and their parents. We had boys and girls on our Little League teams, so it was open to all the children in Landis. And every member of my team played in every single game. They were taught the importance of being on a team, of learning to win and learning to lose. But whatever we did it together. And we didn't do it as individuals. We did it as a team. Having said all of that, my concern is the fact that we don't have any funds at all appropriated for activities for our children in Landis. And that breaks my heart. We need to get programs set back up to involve our children. They need to get away from the TVs and the games and to get outside and to get some exercise. And they need to have fun like my boys did when they were growing up here in this town. Yeah, we have the pool, and we have things to do over at Lake Coyer. Don't get me wrong, that's good stuff. But we have seen the funds for all of these other activities just dry up. They're not there anymore. If they're interested in playing ball, I guess our children go to China Grove or Kannapolis or somewhere else to play. And in my mind, there's something wrong with that picture. I'm a firm believer that if we have activities for our children here in Landis, we'll keep them and their parents here. I just simply ask for y'all to consider funds appropriated for activities for our children, such as Little League. We have a very nice ball field right there behind the pool. Not sure what the status is of the field that Mr. Wallace owns. I guess he owns that field now. And I'm not sure of the condition of the ball field next to the old dye plant, but we have one ball field right there behind the pool that's in pretty good shape. And we could probably use it, maybe with a little work to it. But we need to allow our children to have that opportunity to play on a team and to learn how to win and to learn how to lose. But more importantly, how to have fun with other children their age right here in Landis and not have to go somewhere else. So I just want to thank you all again for the work that you've done in preparing this year's budget.
Thank you, sir. Next on our list is Ms. Nadine Cherry.
Nadine Cherry for Gilman's Garden Street in Landis. Looking over the budget, on the first page, under zoning fees, please explain to me about the road closure petition, which states it will be $200 plus legal and ad cost.
10 on the first page?
Yes.
Page number 3 of our package.
I can answer the question.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. When people petition to close the street, the property goes to adjacent owners, and it's a process to go through. The property ends up, if it's approved, ends up going to the adjacent property owners, and so this is included to have the charge passed on to the people who benefit from the closure, not just the taxpayers. We don't get a lot of road closure petitions typically.
Totally different from the way I was thinking. I was thinking, you know, like some of the churches, you know, when they have Bible school, that's what I was more or less thinking that this was meaning.
Amen.
Okay, I had also noticed somewhere that to replace a wrecked police vehicle was going to be somewhere around $41,000, I believe. Is this correct?
That is correct. That is under our budget, under a capital outlay to replace a car. The vehicle was wrecked back in March, I would say February, March. And it was one of our one of the oldest police vehicles. And to be quite honest with you, I understand where everybody's coming from. I know Mr. Overcash had some questions about that as well. I will tell you that this would put us back in a rotation of purchasing cars in a rotation versus when they went in and bought all of those police cars at one time, and having such a large amount of money that we were in debt with. This would put us back in a rotation of purchasing a car every 2 to 3 years to replenish those cars to get them up to what they need to be. So we're just replacing a vehicle that was already wrecked.
Okay. Well, the way I see this budget, I am like Larry. I think y'all have done a good job. And may not be, you know, the most popular thing, but I think it's, like you said, it's the best that we've had in quite a number of years. And there's also something that I wanted to say. I'm thinking, I don't remember which meeting it was at, but you were asking questions, you know, about the employee raises and everything.
Yes.
I do know that I had kept up with that, you know, in a notebook.
Yes, ma'am.
Writing things down. And one of my biggest complaints about, you know, them getting a raise every time you turn around, it was like 3%. And, you know, I suggested during my comments, you know, like, I could go with the 2%, but not the 3%. And I see, you know, on what y'all have presented to us, that, you know, will be a 2%, which, you know, I could go for. And like I'm saying, I'll just have to go back and look through some of my paperwork, because I know what the question you were asking.
Yes.
And see, I kept asking the same thing. Well, no, we didn't. They didn't get a raise. They, you know. And I do know that it started off, I think, back to like about 2007.
Okay.
So, thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. That is all for citizen comment.
No, that's public hearing comments.
Oh, public hearing comment, sorry.
Okay. Mayor, members of the board, I have 3 to read. I'll read them in the order that I received them. First one is from Tommy Garver, 1200 Woodfield Drive. Hello, I am requesting that the vehicle registration fee be reduced to $15 per vehicle per year, per end, the same as Kannapolis closed per end, and that the property tax go back to revenue neutral from last year, per end, the same as China Grove, again, per end. Everyone is experiencing economic difficulty with the virus problems. Groceries alone are up at 15%. And this is a small move that the town can afford with $750,000 that was received from electricities last year. I had sent this request to all the board members and the mayor, but no responded. I did contact one by phone later.
We speak with you, Mr. Boyer.
The second is from Dennis Eisenhower, 505 Bonita Drive. Let's see. Dear Mayor, Alderman, and Town Manager, I have a question about the two accounts under expenditure from the general fund, page 15 of the budget. The two accounts are 10, 5,515, Mayor Alderman expenses, $7,200. The second is 10, 5,552.90, Mayor Alderman expenses, same name, different number, $7,500. The answer is, he says, first, why are there are two accounts with the same name, and what are the expenses for? And again, they are coded separately. The first is the salary for the board members, annual, collectively, and that's $7,200, and then the $7,500 are expenses for aldermen. And that could be anything from perhaps some supplies on occasion, but meetings or attending league meetings or anything of that nature. I cannot find anywhere it states the debt we owe on the nuclear power plant. I talked to Ms. Seaford. That number is somewhere between $8.2, $8.3 million. And he is called and questioned why it's not in the audit. Well, the simple answer is, it is not a debt directly to us. It is a debt to electricities of which we are a member, and all the debt is owed by all the members based on the proportion of ownership they have, and our payments are made to them through built into our rates. Also, please have the fund balance at 16% for the year and reduce some rates for the residents of the town. We can get to a high fund balance gradually rather than immediately while reducing rates on residents. The citizens have been subject to high rates for the past 10 years while monies have been funneled to other individuals. The water and sewer and electrical rates should be lowered. It is just fair. Also, please rescind the contract with the auditor. This is the same auditor the town has had in the past 11 years. They did not find the marketing expense or the bank fee expenses that were inappropriate in the prior town budgets. Also on page 19 of the budget it says, mistake by the auditors. It is ridiculous that they were given another contract. If this was your business, would you have given them another contract? I'm aware that the LGC said to go with this firm, but they did not find any of the previous mentioned expenses either, so their recommendation is new. Thank you for your time. The final email I got is from Sam Dedman. Today's date, subject annual operating budget comments. It is encouraging to read the fiscal year 2021 proposed annual operating budget prepared by Mr. Barefoot and Ms. Seaford. Instead of deficits, layoffs, and furlough, we now see an increase in the fund balance, the end of furlough days, a stable employee force, a raise for employees, and reduced debt. All of this accomplished without raising taxes or fees charged to the citizens of Landis and without reducing services. This is in stark contrast to what the employees and citizens of the town are used to seeing. Thank you to Mr. Barefoot and Ms. Seaford and to the department head for your hard work and dedication to make this happen. I would also like to thank Mayor Smith, Mayor Pro Tem Stewart, Ashley, Alderman Sells for making decisions which preceded the hiring of Mr. Barefoot and Ms. Seaford. It would have been easy to follow the quote, good old boy, close quote route and allow the town to continue its decline. Instead, you chose to vote for changes which have made a positive difference thanks to the hiring of mature and experienced staff. And this signed, Sam Devon. If I may be allowed, I would like to make a comment or two considering the few comments we had during the public comment period. And Mr. Farmer's comments about the Little League kind of rings true to me. And I would say my time since I've been here has been doing a lot of things, not time to get branched too far out into areas that I'd normally be interested in. And I'm glad that he has made it somewhat of a challenge. Overall, and I've said it in the budget message, and it's been alluded to in comments from not just me. I did not write Sam Devlin's, by the way. That's a joke. But, you know, I am very bullish on where we're going. I mean, I think the revenues are coming in. I think if the town, I don't know how you stimulate the interest in Little League. That's up to you all. But I will say this, if you all want to fund moving into a Little League program, you can do that at any time during the year. There's contingency funds. I just don't know what to ask for, nor do I know what you or the citizens want. But I was pleased to hear him make those comments. I think the other ones I addressed, so I'll just close by saying the budget is there for your vote. You can do it tonight. You can delay it to a period of time. It needs to be done during the month of June. The value in doing it sooner than later is it gives us time to make some changes that will become effective immediately on July 1. I'll be glad to answer any questions you have.
At this time, are there any questions from the board?
No questions from me at this time.
And you're clear on the cars? I know that was one of your concerns last. Mr. Stewart, if you would like to make a motion.
Mayor and Board, I move that we adopt the consent agenda in its entirety, unless there's any comment.
No, we're on budget.
Budget.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Do
I move that we close the public hearing as it relates to the adoption of the annual budget for the town of Landis.
I'll second that. And any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we will move.
You could, I would ask you
To go ahead and vote.
to either vote for the budget
Or
or at least indicate that you want to postpone.
Right, okay,
or-
so, would you like to make the motion to,
I'd like to make the motion to adopt the budget as it is tonight, in tonight's meeting.
With the addition of the fees that I mentioned.
yes.
Yes,
The addition
of the fees.
I'll second this motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Budget is passed.
Now it's time for number 8.
I know, I'm going to sneeze.
All right.
We can move to number 8.
Bless you.
I was trying to hold it.
Mayor, members of the board, I chose this time to introduce consent agenda as a technique to be used in meetings when we think they're going to be long or the items for consideration are very routine, and in every case they should be items that you've already discussed in some form or fashion. And added that in addition to lengthy agendas, extraneous concerns such as COVID panic, we want to get out of here and hopefully keep everybody safe. So I've included items on the consent agenda, and I'll remind you that the golden rule of consent agendas is if any of you wants any item taken off, I have done it where they might just ask us for clarification, but if any one member wants an item taken off, it should be taken off without debate. That just needs to be paramount rule.
Okay.
So if no one has any objections, I'll take you through the agenda items.
Any objections before we proceed?
No objection.
Go ahead.
Item 8A is the minutes from the last several meetings. Item 8B is the contract for our health care, which renews on July 1st. For the upcoming year, the renewal cost is less than 1%, which is fairly remarkable in this day and age. It does benefit us with the annual renewal. Employees are free to make some changes. And so our next meeting will not be before July 1st, so I have included adoption of the contract, approval of the contract in consent. Item 8C, each year we close Town Hall at noon on June 30th to allow staff adequate time to perform year-end closeouts. That is something you all would need to do. Item 8D is the agreement with SCPI to perform the much-needed assessment of our streets, along with the development of a capital improvements plan. We discussed this in depth when we met with you individually leading up to the budget meeting and during the budget meeting. The $28,000 lump sum contract is included in the budget, and we'd like to get started as soon as possible. And then lastly, this is also a formality. Under state law, we're required to charge our customers a fee for the express purpose of enabling the town to meet its renewable energy portfolio standards. The attached rate will go into effect on July 1st. The existing rates I posted for your consideration is 72 cents for residential, $3.93 for, excuse me, these are the current rates.
Correct.
The document shows you what the upcoming rates will be. I'll be glad to answer any questions. Otherwise, it'd be proper to have a motion for approval.
With the pavement, will they be looking at how water flows over the roads? Is that part of their job?
They should be, but I can make sure of that.
Okay, because there is an issue on Pine and Poplar. There's a huge problem out there that
He and I actually.
I was made aware of that today, and I'm going to look into that personally. But,
Okay.
We will do that.
Yeah, I think that's that. And just for, when he was speaking about the fees, he did say that they would change on the document. I will read those aloud. For residential, it would be 77 cents. For commercial, it would be $4.19, and for industrial, it will be $43.15. In case you do not have that document in front of you for any of the people that are viewing. All right, at this time, I will ask for a motion.
Mayor, I move we accept the consent agenda as stated by Mr. Griffin.
Do I have a second? I second that. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Thank you. Okay, we will move to number 9.
Item number 9 on your agenda deals with,
Pull that mic up just a little bit.
There we go.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
I wanted to stand over here because that one echoes, and I want everybody to be able to hear me. So, item number 9 deals with the governor's executive order number 124 and 142. We had prepared to come to you tonight with how we were going to deal with the ending of executive order 124, which we anticipated happening on the 31st of this month. That order is the order that eliminates late fees and cutoffs for all utilities. And we had anticipated that would end this weekend. However, the governor has extended that with a new executive order number 142. So we considered taking that off of your agenda tonight, but decided that it would be a good opportunity to talk to you about how we're going to handle that once it does end, or how we would like to propose that we handle that. And to also offer some encouragement to our citizens. So what we're thinking is, once that executive order ends, it will be at least through July the 29th. At that point, on July the 29th, the governor will either to decide to extend that time period, or he will close the executive order. If he closes the executive order, we would propose that anyone with an outstanding balance at that time will receive from us a payment plan that will go over 6 months period of time, and it will basically take whatever your outstanding balance is and divide it by 6 and ask that you pay that in addition of what your regular utility bill is each month. You will be required to return that document to the town, sign it and return it, and say that you're willing to enter into that agreement with us. That's one of the requirements of the executive order as well, is that we offer a payment plan for anyone who wants to participate in that. So we would be providing you with that plan, telling you what your outstanding balance is. In the interim, we would encourage our citizens to try and pay what you can. We know everybody's struggling. Some of you are unemployed, and we understand that difficulty. But we don't want you to get in a situation where your power bill is more than you can possibly pay back over a 6-month period of time. So you can make payments along. It doesn't have to be the full amount. It can be anything you want to pay during this time. If you have something you can pay, that will make it easier as we get toward the end of this to limit what you have to pay in addition to your regular bill each month. Because the requirement to pay that bill is not going away. It's just being, the governor is trying to help by not making no one should be going without power or utilities. But at the same time, we're also not giving those for free because we have to pay for them as well. So we just want to help you get in a place to be able to do that. Okay. And once we get to the end of that, we will go back to what we're used to. We will have our penalties and our cutoffs at that point. But other than that, that's kind of a summary of where we're looking to go.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I just wanted to give everyone kind of an update on where we're at with the pool and the pool season and overall. I've been having discussions multiple times with several people in all the departments. I've had several discussions with the North Carolina Recreation and Park Association. I've been in contact with Rowan County Health Inspectors and, of course, our swim club management group, who's also helping us get everything underway so the operations can happen for the season. So with all of that discussion and all of that being said, we have come to a projected opening date of Monday, June 15th. So we do want to have this full season open. There are going to be some restrictions and guidelines that we have to go by. The pool has a limited capacity. It's going to be of 100 people in the facility as a whole. That's going to be the patrons and the staff and the guards. With that being said, we're only going to be able to have 42 people allowed in the actual swimming pool at one time. So we'll have people, obviously the guards are going to be there and they're going to try to monitor that as best as possible. We don't want the guards to be sitting there the whole time constantly just counting heads. I mean, they have other things that they need to be looking for to keep people safe. So those numbers will be posted on signs. We're going to make sure that all the citizens are aware of this capacity rule this year. We're going to have guests do a check-in and a check-out. So we'll have like a digital counter, so we'll know each time when someone comes in, we're going to monitor that. Then when they leave, we'll be able to monitor that as well, so we'll have counts. The guests that are going to be coming in will have their temperature checks as well as the staff. So if there's any kind of symptoms going on with any of the employees or the people at the pool, that's something that we would have to take precautions with and make sure no one's coming in not feeling well or having a temperature. We're having a plexiglass meat guard installed at the concession counter and at the admissions counter. We will be doing concessions, but we're just going to be doing just pre-packaged simple snacks. We're not going to be preparing anything. It's basically just, you know, your canned drinks, your candy bars, and chips, and things like that. Let's see where we're at. Going back to the actual capacity part of it though, the health department wanted to reiterate the fact that, there are going to be times that they're going to be doing inspections this year a lot, because there's so many different guidelines that everybody's trying to abide by. So we really are asking for citizens to understand that this could be an inconvenience, and we understand that. But at any time, if we are inspected and there are more than 42 people inside the actual swimming pool, they will shut you down, like, immediately that day. So we're really hoping that we get a lot of cooperation, from the people to make sure that this is going to work smoothly. We won't be able to do parties at this time. Just right off the bat, we want to make sure we can get everything in check and get our guidelines right. This is going to be reevaluated though, so this could potentially change during phase 3. And then we maybe could have people reserve the pool and do parties. Admissions this year are just going to have to be daily admissions. We are not going to be able to do season passes this year because of the guidelines and because of it being restricted as to how many people can come in. We think it's a fair way to do things. Basically, just a first come, first serve basis. If people are going to, wait, we can obviously, if 5 people leave, we can let 5 people come in. People are welcome to call before they come, and we'll be able to know exactly where we're at capacity-wise. If it's a slow day and we only have, 50 people, obviously we'll have plenty of room. If they want to call that way, it kind of keeps any kind of disappointment down at the door if they show up with 5 kids and we're at capacity. They'll have people, and the signs out there letting people know that if they want to wait, obviously keep your distance outside. We'll have markers, for where they have to stand in line. They're going to have sanitation stations set up on the pool deck. Those stations will have hand sanitizer, some disinfectants and sprays, and we'll encourage people to wipe down any areas, chairs, tables that they want to use before and after. The lifeguards are also going to be cleaning all the major touch points during their breaks and every 2 hours throughout the day, as well as our staff that we have doing admissions during any breaks. Everyone's going to be keeping up with all the major touch points, being handrails, doorknobs, countertops, picnic tables, and chairs. About the chairs, we are going to have those limited, so we'll be having less chairs at the pool deck this year, and tables, and they'll all be spaced out accordingly. Patrons can bring their own chairs if they wish, but also just remind them to keep the distance and to kind of group up with their own household and family members. All the staff and the guards will have gloves and masks accessible to them. People will be encouraged to wear face masks if they're going to be in an area around other people, such as standing in a line for concessions or in the restrooms. I think that's about all I had as far as all the precautions that we're going to be taking and maybe some of the changes that we're going to be doing. I understand, like I said before, some of these conditions and restrictions might be an inconvenience to some of the guests, but we just really wanted to make sure we could get the season open this year and offer that service to the citizens. We feel like this is the safest way and it's manageable, and everybody can abide by the rules and the guidelines. I think that's all I have.
Yeah, Jessica, I don't remember us talking about people bringing chairs in. I know we talked about spraying ours down periodically. Would we be spraying theirs down as well?
They can bring their own chair. I mean, again, that station would be the sanitation station's going to have spray. If they have their own chair, then they're going to be responsible for, no one's going to be sitting in their chair that they bring, so they'll be responsible for keeping their area clean and then taking it with them when they go.
I guess the only concern I would have is we would have no way to know where the chair come from, where it's been. In a rare case where a chair was infected, it would be beyond our control to do it. I don't have any experience here, so I don't know how popular it is for them to bring their own chairs.
We've never really offered our own chairs. How many chairs are you talking to put out how many chairs do we have total?
We have 55 total. The swim club suggested we just drop that number down to around 30.
Now, when you
And
say,
to around, oh, sorry, I was saying to around 4 and 4 picnic tables.
when you say someone brings their own chair, that would be, I would bring my chair, sit in it all day and take it home.
Exactly, yeah, you're not leaving it there, it's like, you know, like a pop-up chair.
I wouldn't leave it there, you
Like a beach
would,
chair.
it wouldn't be up to you to use the
Okay, so
hall.
Right.
let's talk about this. I mean, we're gonna discuss it. You've got 55 chairs, you're allowing 100 people in and 42 swimmers. So if you allow 100 people, say 50 parents and 42 swimmers, what are the other 20 parents gonna do? Sit together on a picnic table? Stand up?
Well, that's where the suggestion was, if they wanted to bring their own, he was saying we're gonna be spacing our actual furniture out throughout the deck a certain way. So if you come with 4 or 5 of your friends, we're not saying you can't sit with them, we're gonna space you this far apart from your friend that you're with. But if you bring your chair and you stay within your household or your friends, and you're with that group, then you're taking it away. I mean, it's definitely,
What if their chair breaks and they get hurt? What if I trip over their chair and I get hurt? I say you put 55 chairs out if you can have 100 guests. Because there could be 50 adults and 30 kids. And I don't have a lounge chair to lay out in the sun. I mean, I have a beach chair that has sand on it. I mean, are we gonna?
well, even at on normal season, you know, when we have all those 55 chairs out and we don't have enough chairs for everybody, there has been times when people have brought their own, or they'll lay on a towel, you know, in the grass or on the deck. I mean, you really can't, I mean, they have to sit somewhere, they have to be somewhere. So, I mean, we either keep all the chairs out, that's fine, I'm not sure, spacing wise.
I would say put as many chairs out as possible to, I would prefer them not.
Is it possible that you can put some of the chairs in the grass area to keep the spacing?
Yes, or on that, and when you first walk in, there's the yellow line and there's plenty of space.
Well, yeah, we usually do 2 rows there as well. Yeah, we can definitely have signage up that states, you know, my thing is I just don't want people to come in there then and just start moving them around and putting them where they want them to be. I mean, I've had people put people tables before, you know.
And if you have 50 adults and 30 kids, then they can ask for a chair. But I think we make the chairs accessible for them instead of them bringing their own.
Okay.
That's
If you get in the grass, better make sure there ain't no fire ants.
So,
I don't know
do-
your spray force, Tony.
So then that's something.
I saw you with your torch on the side of the road.
Is that something that you want to add, one of the guidelines would be not to bring your own home items then?
I would.
Because that's something we had to specify before, you know,
Well,
they just,
I mean, the only chairs I have are fabric. I mean, does that make sense? Like, I just.
well, I'm not sure people bring, you know, you can get a lounge chair that folds up in like 3 and you just carry it.
Right.
Or the pop-up camping chairs, and the kids pop up and sit down in those, like little, you know, canvas kind of chairs.
Yes, you're
Yeah.
exactly right, yes, those have been brought in.
But I thought those were brought in on like busy days when you've got a Saturday and people are having parties under those shelters and there's a large crowd. I mean, right now we're limiting our crowd as it is.
Mhm.
And what's your thought, Mr. Barefoot?
Well, it wasn't clear to me if we'd allowed chairs in the past, you know, I mean, if chairs are brought in, I can see where, you know, someone may bring in 2 kids and bring in small chairs for them to sit on the side of one of our chairs or something like that. So there's an advantage in that. My concerns were more about being able to sanitize it, you know, when we go around and sanitize everything.
Now, are you gonna have like break periods where you'll go sanitize, or will you just like, if people leave, sanitize that area?
We're going to kind of keep a check on that obviously as well, but the designated break times, I guess during the adult swim,
Okay.
It's gonna be anywhere between a 15 to 20 minute break time for that, and then during the adult swim, the guards will be, like I said, doing those touch points. And at any time with our staff is not busy at the desk, if they notice, a picnic table just gotten empty, they can wipe that down. So the guards are still doing their job. They'll just be doing it during their breaks, and then it'll be up to our staff to go ahead and hit those other points during the times where the guards are in their chairs.
In the past, let's use last summer as an example. On your busiest day, how many people did you have in the pool on that day? Do you have any idea?
Like in the swimming?
Not just like attendance.
Attendance-wise, I mean, when I was just looking up old reports just to kind of see where we were at with numbers, on an average day, we were probably around, I'd say on a weekend-wise, anywhere from like 80 to 100, 120.
Okay.
That's not like a holiday weekend or, kind of busier weekend. So the weekdays, I definitely think that this is not going to be a problem, yeah. So we should be able to accommodate.
I have had people ask if we are going to allow a morning time, what will be the hours?
So we decided we weren't going to close midday. We were just going to go ahead and be open a full day since we are going to be doing the cleaning, every hour to 2 hours. So the pool would open at 10 a.m. and it would close at 8 p.m.
I might want to add that it's still a work in progress. The biggest reason I wanted Jessica here tonight was so the public would know that we are moving forward to opening the pool. And of course, we're interested in feedback as we finalize all the policies and procedures we're going to put into effect. So we're still...
I will say that a lot of them still want to buy passes. Is that not an option at all?
I just don't think with the restrictions on it, you might have someone that's going to be turned away, and if they have a pass, there's no fair way to really do that.
Are we going to take names of who comes in? Every person is going to be Meredith Smith and Katie Sells and Tony Coyer. We'll have
a check-in list with a name, the time that they get there, and then they'll do check-in time.
Will you still use your
the check-in system?
Yeah.
I'm going to see if there's a way that I can utilize that, since they're not actually scanning cards now, and you're not going to be able to scan that onto the information to get there as the pass system. I mean, that system doesn't expire. I mean, we'll be able to use that later at a different time if it doesn't work for this year. The way that system works, though, is if you come in, you've never been to the pool before, I'm going to have to enter all your information in that day, and then you're in there. How long that may take, it may take a while, especially if you have a line of people at the pool. Where it was going to come in to play with the passes is I would have had all that information ahead of time, and it would have all been entered in ahead of time, so that when they came, it was scanned and they go. But to have people that are coming, that have never been before, or that come, each day, and they're new people, to have the staff enter all that into the system, I don't think it would be very sufficient.
I mean, the phases are changing. I mean, as summer goes on, we're going
Right.
to see things open up more.
Yeah, phase 3, we just needed some guidelines and some things to get the season open. And, phase 3 could change, they may say you can be not at 50%. They may, raise that bar, they may be able to do the gatherings, you just never know. And it may be going very smoothly and everybody's doing great at the pool and keeping the distances and,
So I was asked if there will be adjustment on the price of the pass. So at this, I said yes, because I thought we were doing some sort of like punch card or something to that effect. So the new answer is no, we are not selling passes. It will be, and what are the
rates going to be?
rates?
I think we were still trying to determine those rates. As soon as we had that finalized, we were going to post that and let that be known.
That was part of the reason that we didn't want to go with an annual pass, because we felt like the season was starting late and school potentially starting early. So we've got such a short time frame in there to be able to get those passes out and people to be able to get to use them the amount of times they would need to use them to justify the cost for them.
Well, and And I'll say that's why I suggested a punch card, whether it be a family that comes in and buys a 20 punch card, they get to go, I mean, if it was a 20 punch card, it would be one per person, or 30, or, I mean, I think they like the path. I mean, does that make sense? Like, am I making sense on that?
I think the only, like I said, I've been on Zoom meetings with other people that are also in the same situation that we are right now. Some of them have open pools already, and some of them are just starting to implement some of their procedures. Just one of the issues that they had with punch cards again was, again, if it's a busy weekend and they get there and they have to be turned away, or say they buy a pass card and they can only come, they're only going to be a weekend person. They were just hoping that their punch card would get them in each weekend, and weekends are busy, and they miss a day, or, so again, you're just putting that risk out there of people spending money for something that they may not get to utilize. And if it's a daily pay-as-you-come, if they get there, and for some reason they don't get in, they're not losing any money. We're hoping we don't have to turn away people, but that chance is potentially there, and it's probably just the fairest,
The other concern is, we're looking at a number of pools in the area that are not opening, and that may increase the traffic that we see at our pool. And obviously we want Landis citizens to have the opportunity to utilize that first, but we do have situations where we have grandparents with grandchildren coming to visit and those type things, and we won't know until we start down the path what our activity and our volume is going to look like.
There is no guarantee that it'll be a Landis citizen that's getting to, there will be no guarantee that it'll be a Landis citizen.
No.
As you can tell, there are plenty of different theories on how best to operate the pool. So if you have ideas, just call Jessup, call me, or call Diane.
I will go ahead and throw this out there so that everybody knows. I think that you should shut the pool at a certain time, take a 30-minute clean, everybody has to exit, and then it's re-enter. Because if I work all day and I come and I want to bring my 2 kids at 4:30 when I get off of work, and it's already full, and nobody's going to leave, I'm never going to get in. If it's going to be like that every day, I'm never going to get in. And it's not going to give somebody an opportunity to have a chance to get into the pool. And if we're going to be open from 10 to 8, I think that if you get off every day at what time, 4:30? If you say every Thursday I want to take Jackson swimming, and every Thursday you show up, well, you never get in. It is, but you're a Landis citizen, and then they're going to say, well, how many people are in here from everywhere? I
But
think
you gotta keep in mind too, people rotate out, they come in, people rotate in and out at different times.
I'm going to tell you, I just experienced it 2 weeks ago. The people will sit there, and they're not even in that pool because they don't want to lose their spot. They don't want to give up. If they walk out, they may not get to come back in. So they'll sit there all day long, if that makes sense. Like they'll just stake out.
Jessica, are you going to monitor who's there on a daily basis? Say, for instance, if my wife goes over there with our son, and she don't work, and she's over there every day, then come Saturday, Meredith wants to go with her daughters. She comes up and says, well, she's been there all week with her son.
No, there's no way to monitor that.
There's no way like that. Once your wife has paid admission every single day, that she.
But you got people that can be there every day.
I mean, but that's kind of my point. Like, what about parents that only have off Saturday and Sunday, and they
Can't be there Monday and Thursday.
Well, can't be there. I guess that I'm saying if we shut down at a certain time, come out, do our checkpoints, then we give somebody the potential of showing up at 4 o'clock, whatever time, and having that glimpse of hope that they may get back in, or they may get in at some point.
I definitely see that point.
I
I
just
think
think
that
it should
there's
be
not.
something that's discussed. It doesn't
It is. It does take some discussion, because no matter what somebody says, there's always another
Well,
what if.
right.
Because what if I don't get off work until, you know, let's say I work and I just got to the pool and at 12, and now we're gonna shut down at 2, and I have to leave, and I pay, you know, the same amount this person there in the morning and was able to stay the whole time, but now I can't turn around and, I wanna have it for a
That's also
whole.
my opinion of, that's the breaks of life. I mean,
Mhm.
go get back in line, just like, I mean, I'll tell you, I experienced this 2 weeks ago at Tampa. You could go in the pool from 10 to 12, you had to leave at 12 o'clock. So at 11:45, I was the second person in line.
Right.
And then when they walked out, everybody came and got in line with me, and they started this ginormous line.
But then you got the whole same group that you just had in there coming back around again, which would still potentially keep you from not coming in.
It
the
wouldn't,
afternoon.
if that person knows they can get in at a certain time, then they show up at that time and get in line. It would just be, they can't be there in the morning because they work.
Mhm.
It would give them an opportunity to come in at the evening. Does that be following?
But I'm sorry, go ahead.
However, let me just make one comment too. You said, looking back over reports from last year, your on that specific day, or your highest occupancy rate last year was not much more than what your occupancy is going to be
Now,
now.
definitely maybe some like holiday weekends or other days, there's other chances, but I feel like this number that we set is not gonna put us too much in a bind. I mean, and especially after June is over with and we're seeing how things are going, and then as things get lifted again, I think in phase 3, I really feel like we're not gonna have, that number shouldn't be.
Well, and I think the only concern is exactly what Diane said. If the surrounding areas are not opening their pools, then how many people are gonna come and drive on down to Landis and use this pool, drop their kids off, and they're gonna leave them all day long? Grandma drops them off, they're there till X amount of time, and, well, I mean, I just think we should consider some type of time.
What if you, so we open the pool from 10 to 8, is that correct?
And that is Monday through Friday?
That's Monday through Saturday,
Monday through
Sunday
Friday.
is 1 to 8.
But if you, on the long day, what if you did close the pool for 15 or 20 or 30 minutes in the middle of the,
3 o'clock.
for 2:30 or 3 o'clock, and sell your passes in individual passes, like half-day passes? So if you stay all day, you got to buy 2 half-day passes. It would at least give you a break so that somebody, like you said, could come at 3 o'clock and be in line first. It's just something to consider.
I mean, I used the pool, my family used the pool. We used it a lot last year, and I can't think, I mean, we didn't go up there from the time the doors opened to the time they closed. We, 4 or 5 hours, we left, and that seemed to be the norm for most people. Kids get tired, they get hungry, they gotta go do other things. So, I mean, I see a rotation.
And I don't disagree with that. I mean, obviously, I live right there. I see, the whole 9 yards. My concern is that the places that kids did go down the street,
And I see that.
that's my concern, is that they were able to be dropped off at XYZ for all day. So now, since they can't go to XYZ, we'll come over here to ABC and we'll just drop our kid off there all day long. And it may give them a break on the price. I mean, we're not offering passes, so if we offered an X amount for this hour, an X amount for this hour, obviously it would be the same, and they have to, I don't know. I mean, I'm just throwing ideas out there.
So Jessica, do we have an age limit for when children can be there unsupervised?
That was gonna be my next statement too. They have to be, if they're under 16, we're not having little kids like being just dropped off. So if 16 and over is considered an adult. So if you're under 16, you have to be there with an adult.
So,
with a parent.
but 16-year-old can come in and bring siblings?
No. I mean, somebody there has to be, they have to be, if you're under 16, you have to be there with somebody that's 18 or over, an adult. Like a 16-year-old can't bring their 4 or 5-year-old sister. I mean, they have to be with their parent or guardian. I mean, that's how it was. I think that's what it states in the past as well.
I guess my only other thing, just throwing this out there, say that I pay, I go in, I will leave, I pay for an all-day pass, and then I can't get back in when I run to the store to get a drink, or I go pick up my child, or, I mean, are we gonna have people being mad that they paid for an all-day pass and can't get back in?
I always say, but I feel like if you're coming, then you need to, when you're coming, make sure that you've made your plan to stay and leave when you're ready to leave.
People will adjust, people will adjust.
Yeah, these are things that I'm sure that
I mean,
have to be explained to people, and they're gonna have to make those adjustments, but, I mean, we'll have snacks there and waters, and if they wanna do whatever, I'm not gonna do
and
your
the
store and come back.
delivers there, so, I mean.
I feel like there's, believe me, we have gone over the million what ifs and how to handle certain things, and I just feel like, you know, if we.
That would be my only suggestion, is a half period of some type of.
Well, Jessica's saying, thank you for helping us resolve these issues.
When the people get mad, who you gonna send them to, Ron? You late.
Probably.
I just think we need to get the pool open and offer these kids something, to
Right.
keep the pride and stomach, they've been cooped up at home.
And I don't disagree, but
Yeah.
Make them mad.
Yeah, it's gonna be, I mean, when you talk about people getting mad, I mean, it takes a while to get people up and out, and, you know, if you're getting ready to shut down midday, you're wrangling them up, and they're gonna be mad about that as well, so, I mean, we just can't make everybody happy.
And it's an ever-changing situation, so
Right.
what's required today may
Yeah, it
change.
comes the week of the 4th of July, you know, or mid-July, things could change, and we will change as the situations change, and we'll try to accommodate as many as possible. We're just trying to get the pool open, so people can enjoy that.
Thank you, Jessica.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
11.
Good luck.
Number 11 is consider a budget amendment for employee bonuses. As the proposed budget outlines, the bonuses previously received by employees are being rolled into salary. This change will provide employees with consistency in earnings throughout the year and provide for appropriate retirement contributions. To make this change and keep employees' earnings whole for the 2020 calendar year, the July bonus needs to be paid in June. The attached budget amendment moves funds within each department to the salary and Social Security line items when needed. Please note that the funding is available within each department. However, in some areas, it needs to be moved from one line item to another. This amendment does not reduce contingency or fund balance appropriated. The changes are strictly between expense line items. Thank you for your consideration of this amendment. Personally, I think this pay change is a benefit to both the town and the employee.
Do you have any discussion?
I just want to make it clear that the budget, the bonuses these employees receive has gone on for a long time. It's nothing new, something that just come up in this meeting or anything. We're stopping them and putting the salaries where they need to be.
That is correct. This will be the last bonus, and it will ensure that the employees are receiving the same rate of pay for their W-2 this year as they did the previous year.
All right, if there's no-
Mayor and Board, I move we consider adopting this budget amendment related to the employee compensation.
I second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Motion passes. Okay, we'll move to number 12. If you would like to take that, Mr. Rickman.
Yes. Mayor, members of the board, you have before you a letter from John Eckert making an offer to purchase 2 parcels of the former DC land properties. The larger tract consists of 1.71 acres. It's identified as on Coldwater Street, zoned R8, and identified. If you look at the drawing, it is the middle colored drawing. It is shown on the tax books as a value of $66,000. He has made an offer of $30,000. He makes a second offer in the same letter. It is for a smaller lot on a different location. That lot consists of .47 acres, it's zone B3. That parcel and a larger parcel, which D.C. Lynn's heirs gave to the town, actually fronts on 29. But he has indicated he's interested only in the smaller part that is adjacent to his, I think his sister's property. The Rowan County GIS shows that parcel to be appraised at a value of $19,404. His offer is $10,000. You have your property, it's the town's property, and you have a right to accept the offer under statute 168-269, declare it surplus, and then I would be directed, or the clerk would be directed, to advertise for upset bids. Or you could reject the bid. It's really, it's your choice. I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
At this time, does this board have any questions?
Mr. Barefoot, I do have a clarification, please, if you will. Okay. I'm under the understanding, however, that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that this motion would be purely for the board to consider surplusing this property first and not in conjunction to or prior to accepting his written offer. That is the case, correct?
Well, I would say no, because you can declare the property surplus apart and aside from his offer, but his offer is what is putting you under the gun to decide whether it's a surplus. You can't sell it without surplusing it.
Correct.
So,
nor can we enter into an executed agreement of his offer without it first being in surplus, correct?
That's correct.
So again, that it needs to be surplus first before we make a decision whether to accept the offer or not.
We don't have to sell it.
But if you surplus it, does it then have to be sold, or can it remain in surplus without being sold?
We have an attorney who's not had a chance to speak tonight, but I mean, the ability to sell only occurs after you surplus the property. You're saying the language says surplus for the need of the town.
Mm-hmm.
So in accordance to what's written here, if we surplus it, we're not accepting his $30,000 or his offers.
Well, I think you are, because, I mean, what happens is you declare it surplus, and you direct, under the 168-269, you direct the clerk to advertise it for upset bid. So you are accepting their offer.
Yes.
His offer.
Yes, I agree with you.
So then if no upset bids comes in,
Then
he gets it
It's sold
30,000.
30 and 10.
I think that's what.
The problem, my problem with it is if it's low, and I did have this experience on a $250,000 property many years ago in Sanford, a sewer plant that was, after 25 years, was put on the market, and everybody put contingencies on it, different contingencies. And when I literally came in for my first board meeting, I think they were at the 4th or 5th time back at it, and I ended up saying, why don't you just put it up for bids and have no contingencies, which they did and sold it. It's now a movie theater and an Olive Garden and something else and something else. But every time you go through this motion under 269, we advertise it. If we get an upset bid of 5%, then we go back through the process again. And it can go on, and we're the ones paying the advertising price. So I would encourage boards not to accept offers they don't think is reasonably fair for the value of the property being sold or being bid on.
Is there any discussion other than Mr. Stewart's question?
Is the property for sale?
Well, that's up to us.
I'm gonna say.
Well, and
You know, if I could just speak, one of the things that I think we need to remember is that all of the property that was donated by the D.C. Lynn family at the time this property was received by the town was contingent upon the revenue generated by the sale to go back into the construction of the Passage Park. The money was earmarked for a particular fund. So, you know, my suggestion to you would be don't declare it surplus unless you're willing to go forward with the sale of the property. I think I'm going to again look to see if I can actually find an agreement that was entered into by the town with the D.C. Lynn family in setting out the terms and conditions of the way this would take place. So the money, revenues generated, funds generated are not going into the general fund.
Correct.
But will go to this particular
we'll go to Patrick Park.
account. And I understand that account is established, it's identified, it's there. There was nothing that was interfered with.
No, it is all intact.
It's all intact. Okay.
I say put this off for further study.
I would say table it until Mr. Locklear finds out about it.
Well, I would say that, but I would also say that if it appraised for 66, I don't know that I'm willing to take 30,000 if it is appraised for 66.
I'm not.
I know I'm not.
I agree with you.
And then if the other one is appraised at 19.4, I'm not taking 10. So,
Advice.
yeah,
I just don't think these are reasonable prices.
I don't either.
So those prices you all mentioned were the county assessed tax value,
Correct,
just so we're all on the same page.
correct.
I say for future, that Mr. Locklear go ahead and look up any agreements, and then anything comes up on it, we'll be ahead on.
Further discussion.
Yeah, table it.
I don't think, okay.
As to one last comment before we go into moving to accept, reject, et cetera, the notion of the transfer of the town being donated that property was for a specific purpose for Passage Park, right?
Correct.
We all agree. So I am for the proper sale, maximizing the value that we can for efforts of moving forward with the beginning process or the restoration or the creation of Passage Park.
Absolutely. Right.
So I'm for if we were to, unilaterally, if we took the property that sat in that donation, I am for, and this is all in terms, I am for and a proponent of surplusing that for the purpose of moving Passage Park ahead. However, at this time, if we're making a decision whether we're accepting an offer or not, I'll have my response here shortly.
Great. Do you want to make a motion? I think we all agree. Would you like to make the motion, Mr.
Sure.
Stewart?
At this moment, Mayor and Board, I move that we consider to accept and/or reject the offer to purchase on the two lots that have an offer on Coldwater and Lynn Avenue.
I'll second that. Any discussion? I will go by, Mr. Stewart, what would be your vote?
My vote at this time on both is no.
Mr. Poyer?
No.
Ms. Sales? No. Mr. Overcash?
No.
Unanimous by the board, motion does not pass. We will now move to number 13.
Number 13 is consideration of financial reports. I want to move through these fairly quickly and just wanted to be able to provide to you some financials again this month so that you get used to seeing those, and if you have any questions, you feel free to call and ask me about it. Overall, I won't go through each fund individually, but wanted to say that I think by the end of this month, we will be able to add between 1.2 and 1.4 million to fund balance and retained earnings throughout the funds together. That's a combination of all of them. And I think that will help, obviously, with our fund balance numbers and our retained earnings. I also wanted to let you see, again, this month, a schedule of cash balances. And the cash balances, I think you'll see on this schedule compared to last month, further solidifies an improving status for all of our funds. There is a small overall reduction in cash from last month that is driven primarily by the payoff of the fire truck in the general fund. Cash balances are up in all funds except the general fund. So I think we're seeing growth in all of those funds through expenditures being handled appropriately and revenues coming in higher than we expected. Any questions?
I appreciate it. At this time, we will move to board comments.
We'll start with you, Mr. Evercash.
One thing I got tonight is the town has not purchased a vacuum truck.
No, we have
It was
not.
only rented, and the board agreed on it and approved it, but we have not purchased that truck.
Correct information, there has been no vacuum truck purchased by the town of Landis.
That's all I have.
It is a rental, or it is a temporary 1-week rental on our project to clean up Landis. And I mean the sides of the streets. That is what we've done.
Go ahead, Ms. Hill. I have a couple things. The trash is not being picked up. Today I found out that out on 29, the southbound side was picked up, but not the northbound side. I know they've had a new driver. I think we're beyond new driver status. See if Waste Pro can help us out on getting folks' trash picked up in a timely manner. I want to thank Diane and Mr. Barefoot for all your hard work on this budget. You've done a tremendous job. I mean, thank you very, very much. And then, Ms. Smith, I want to thank you yesterday for the parade for the seniors. Thank you, Ms. That's all I have.
Mr. Coyer?
Yes, I have a couple things I want to say so the citizens can be aware. In general observation as a member of the board, first and foremost, I want to give a comment of appreciation for the work that Officer Saffert's doing on the code enforcement side, along with Mr. Barefoot and administration in Town Hall. There's been some noticeable progress being made, and we really appreciate that from the board side, also from the staff at Town Hall and Officer Safert in his capacity of code enforcement. It helps the curb appeal for our entire town, not just one particular property. And it's very, very nice to see that work being done, and we hope that it continues, and we're going to anticipate and expect that to continue. Also, the budget, as Mr. Barefoot mentioned, it's a bullish budget. We've been in, it's going to be a little bit of recovery for the next couple of years, but we're taking great strides in getting the finances back in order and having that fund balance where it needs to be, so that we can cover any unexpected things that we can cross. We're in one now. I also want to let Mr. Farmer know, Mr. Garver, Mr. Eisenhower, Mr. Dedman, Ms. Cherry, that we hear you and we understand and feel what you have to say is relevant. Holistically, we'll do our best to accomplish the things that are within the goal of getting our budget completely in order within a few years period. And I don't have to tell anybody here this. There's much more to a house than just what you can see. There's a foundation underneath, and we're working to build that foundation and are on a good path forward. So I appreciate you all for your input, and whether or not your items were addressed or not, we hear them, and I appreciate that. That's all I have.
Did you have any comments? Before
I will just tell you that Ms. Seifert asked me as we were finishing up the budget, 5 o'clock, whatever day it was, Thursday, I guess. She said, "Where's your budget message?" And I said, "I don't have one." She said, "Okay." So, I think the agenda speaks for itself. We got plenty going on. But it's been a good week, and I'm really pleased with our efforts. Thank you. Thank you for your effort.
Okay, so I will end, one, I want to thank the citizens that came out to participate in the parade yesterday, whether it was to help drive, or whether it was to wave to the seniors that were able to participate. It was fun, it was exciting, those kids were super excited just to ride through, blow their horns, play their music, and wave. I mean, it was a fun time. It may be something that the parade girl up here has to do from here on out, because I do love a good parade. So it was fun, and I appreciate all the people that came, and I think Ms. Nadine may have videoed, and I'd love to have a copy, just to document. And so moving on to more serious matters, I want to thank Mr. Barefoot and Ms. Seifert, reiterate exactly what everybody else has said. We're working hard. I think that Ms. Cherry and I have spoken multiple times about that Rome wasn't built in a day. And that you may hear that often and think, I'm sick and tired of hearing that, let's move on. It wasn't. Mr. Barefoot and I kind of joked today as we met briefly about some other things going on that for the first 2 months, 3 months, it was every day you would leave at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock or 7, and you would say, tomorrow my goal is to finish this. And by the time you would get up, put your pants on, and get to work, there had been 2 to 3 more things that were on top of that list that took precedence over what you had. And they've worked through it. I think that COVID has probably helped our staff to create a working environment without people coming in all the time. I think it's been great for them to kind of just have that nice little lull in the fact of being able to figure out where everybody's strengths are. And so I appreciate both of their hard work and everybody in Town Hall. We appreciate them. And I appreciate you citizens for sticking with us during the pandemic. I understand that things have not always been easy. As far as you want to pay with cash, you don't want to leave it in the drop box, you don't want to pay the fee. Sometimes there's fees, and sometimes things just don't go as planned. So I appreciate you hanging with us and giving us the opportunity. We are a new board, and we plan to move on with a bright future in the town of Landis. So with that being said, we will consider.
May I unmute that we adjourn?
I second that. All those in favor? Unanimous. Do you have something, Mr. Miller?
I don't know what problem.
Okay, hold on 1 second. We're going to pause that. Oh, yes. Yes, we do need to discuss that.
July 6th is a Monday?
Mm-hmm.
That's also holiday?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I guess the question, Madam Mayor and members of the board, is when do y'all want to meet?
I would propose we meet on July 13th.
I agree with that.
The 4th is on a Saturday, and so that first Monday of the month is July 6th. And I know that there are a lot of people that take that as a holiday, so, and Town Hall will be taking that Monday as the holiday. So Town Hall will not be open, so we would need to make a motion to move the July meeting to July the 13th at 7 p.m.
Mayor, I move we have our next meeting July 13th at 7 p.m.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
meeting is now adjourned.
Is that wrong?